good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all have been doing okay, staying safe. Today I'm going to be going over how to make a beat using samples and all the different techniques you can use to do that. There's tons of different ways to make beats with samples. There's not just one way, obviously, but I'm going to focus more on the boom-bap, kind of older style beat today. I'm going to start with some general things. How you flip your sample really depends on the type of beat you want and the tempo. Let's say I want more of an upbeat kind of beat like this. I didn't really chop that. I just kind of pitched it up and messed with the tempo and pitch. That's always a good tactic. Let's say you want more of a beat like this. Kind of that older vibe with the older drums and kind of boom bap, as people would say. So I'm gonna show y'all how to chop your samples up and find the right way to play it. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing you want to do is find your sample. What I do is I virtually crate dig, I guess is what it's called. There's hella playlists on YouTube full of samples. You can just type it in. I'm gonna let you in on a not so secret channel. Not so secret channel. This sample is called Vinyl Frontier. Search it up. It comes up as Vinyl Frontier 2, I think. If you go to their playlists, they have a bunch of samples that you can dig through. A lot of them are unlisted too, so you can only find them in there, which is really nice. And then I use a YouTube to MP3 downloader. We pirating stuff out here. And then you're going to want to drag that into your DAW. And then you're going to want to find the BPM. To do that, I just use a tap BPM counter. What you're going to do is you're going to play the song and just tap along with the tempo. It helps if you understand tempo and rhythm, but usually it's 1 to 2 BPM off, so you get the general BPM, and then what I do is I will flex it. I will flex it to hit more on beat. I won't flex every part because I like the swing of some parts being off beat. But you want to flex it so the downbeats are on beat at least, I think. Then once I get that, I'll mess with the pitch usually. You can leave the pitch as is sometimes, but I usually like to pitch it down or up, mostly down to get a new sound. And I'll pitch it down, and then once I get that, bounce it in place, and then I'll chop it up into fourth notes like this. And then I will select those and then right click, hit create new sampler track, and that'll put it into EXS, and it'll be an instrument that you can play on your keyboard. So once we get that, I'll go into EXS and switch it from poly to legato. That just kind of means that one note will play at a time, so you won't have like clashing notes or sample chops, I guess, not notes. Then I'll go to the edit button, and I'll select all of them, deselect pitch. It doesn't really matter because they all have their own pitch already, but it just kind of bugs me out. It's kind of a thing. And then I will click one shot, and what that does is once you hit the note once, it'll play until the next note is hit. And that's important because you don't want to hold it down. Oh! And that's important because you don't want to hold it down every time you're playing the sample chop. You just want to hit it once and then get ready for the next note so you can keep it in rhythm. And then once you got that, you can start messing around, and I'll show you my process for that right now. So usually how I do this is I just put a loop, and we're just going to play around for a bit and see what sticks. So I think I found a main pattern that I'm going to start with, and then we can build off of it from there. So I'm just going to record that in real quick. That last part wasn't part of the pattern. I just figured I'd go somewhere and try something. We can always edit it. And now we're going to start editing. Uh-oh. No, I'm good. Alright, so I think we're gonna... There's one little part that I don't like. The last part of bar 2, when it leads back into the beginning of the loop, I feel like I could have a better transition, so I'm just gonna play around and see what sample chops might be better for that. It really depends on the sample chop, really. Maybe it could be like this. Or you don't even have to repeat it. Sometimes it can just be that part of the sample. I'm gonna re-record it in the first one I'm just gonna play that part of the sample, and then the second one I'm gonna repeat this sample chop right here. Perfect. On that take, I went 3 times through that pattern, but on the third time, instead of going back to the beginning part of the sample that I chose, I continued into the next part using different sample chops, just to add some variation. See how that sounds. Yeah, that sounded pretty good. That's like a good main sample, and what I like to do a lot of the time is I like to find variations or different sample chops to add, just so it's not stagnant the whole time. So it's 2 different kind of loops like that, and I kind of like the beginning. So I might throw that in there somewhere. Right now I'm just gonna loop the drum pattern again, and then I'm gonna play around and find a way to get that in there. I recorded the wrong thing. Ready? Hey. I think that's fine. Okay. I don't even need to play around. I just recorded it in. I think that was good. So it went right from the last part of that sample into the beginning. Then it went back to the beginning for a second, but then it went back to the there's 2 beginnings. It went back to the beginning of the first sample loop that I chose, but then it went right back to the beginning of the whole sample that I chose. This isn't. So those sample chops are from the what am I saying? It's a different part of the sample, but I blended them together. So I'll record it again. Batman attacked me mid-sample chop. That's crazy. But that was a good take, even though he messed me up. Let's hear that sounded. fire in my opinion. Let's see. I have to add to it because there's only 4 bar loop. That's pretty good. I just stayed around the same loops and kind of mixed and matched the chops a little bit. Another great way to add variation to your sample chops is to add little silences. So maybe if you miss a chop, so let's say you have this pattern going. That can add some great like pockets for the rapper to catch or the drums to hit. I'm gonna add that in somewhere here. Right there, I think. When that drops out, it comes back in with the snare, so it almost like pulls you back and hits you harder, I feel like. Alright, so we have our 2 main loops. Now let's program our own drums. To start, I put a basic drum loop in just to keep the tempo and just get a feel for the track. And then I'll go in and find some drum sounds that I like and kind of not make the same drum pattern, but make one similar, and then build off that as I go. I use a lot of splice sounds for these type of beats. Those are pretty good. There's also a bunch of packs online. Bass Gutta had a lo-fi pack I think you can go check out on his channel in one of his older videos. You just want to find some kind of older sounding sounds that you would hear in maybe an older New York style boom-bap beat. That should sound like this. So the last part is kind of tricky for me, at least in these types of beats, is the bass. What I would recommend is if you have a bass and can play it, definitely play a live bass. But if you're like me, you don't know how to play bass, then you can go back into EXS and go under the live bass sounds. There's some pretty good ones. At least you don't have to make it too crazy. Keep it simple too. Throw a bass amp on it if you want, just to fill the low end. It doesn't need to be the prominent part. It just needs to fill that low end. You don't want it to be with no bass most of the time. Sometimes you can get away with it if it's like a lo-fi beat, but you want it to have the lower part of the frequency spectrum lots of times. This is what the final beat should sound like. That sounded pretty good. The next step is just to send it off to some rappers and see what they do with it. I sent this one to my friends Theory.
Look. Check. I inhale, reminisce lessons. Never judge a man how he's stressing. Anything to break tension. The hate got a lot to say, like when I keep venting. The Wrangler put the top away. My whip break to pieces like the Glocks on policemen. I don't rock with the precinct. All my brothers breaking even. Look, and I seen the hate, and I felt it way too long. Just because you in a wraith, it don't mean you reach the stars. Like inspired by Mars Mike, like Mookie, my parts right. This movie ain't Charles Wright. I'm blacking like all night. And my brother Barney hit me like Barry Bonds is. If I kill a beat, it can free me. That's when the bond hit. Shit.
Alright y'all, so that's it for today. I know, different lighting, different whatever. Forgot to record an outro, okay? Anyways, thanks for watching. Big shout out to Theory for killing that verse. Leave a comment down below of what y'all want to see next or any suggestions you have. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Check. I inhale, reminisce lessons. Never judge a man how he's stressing. Anything to break tension. The hate got a lot to say, like when I keep venting.